Good morning. Welcome on this first day, the birthday of the sun, the S-U-N, sun. This is the day after solstice. It's the first day where the sun is out a little bit longer, and from this day forward, it'll be lighter and lighter every day after day. It is a special time of year when the light starts coming back into the cycle of the seasons, and may it not come back to nature and not happen in your own life. May there be a light that grows within you from this day forward. May you feel the presence of that light in your own life, because we too are a part of nature. I'm glad that you're here. This is our point service. It's our humanist service every week. It's a special time when we come together, everybody from atheists and agnostics and naturalists and believers and non-believers and seekers, and everybody is welcome here at the point where we join together across all of our differences to be inspired in a way unlike anywhere else that I know of. So thank you for being here. And those who are online, welcome as well from all over the country and around the world. It is great to be together on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's truly a sun day today. And I welcome our guests who are with us. And I invite you, in your program, there is the words of the All Souls Covenant, which is a promise that we make to each other in this community. Since we don't have a belief system that binds us together, that we all believe the same way, we have a promise that we make to each other in this community of how we're going to be together. And it begins with the word love. And if you recite it with me, I welcome you. Love is the spirit of this. And service is this law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief. A wonderful group of chalice-siders. We have Eve Bjornsgaard, who is she is her. Let me make sure I get your title. That our AV, our audiovisual coordinator here at All Souls. So it's great to have her and her wife Joan, who is sings in our adult choir and is part of our adult choir board. And then Joan's daughter is with us, Kelsey Bjornsgaard, and Kelsey and her fiance, Simeon Dukic, who is with us. These two are recently engaged, and they're with us from London for the holidays. So welcome them as they light our chalice.
We dedicate this fire to the eternal light of midwinter. May its flame symbolize the warmth of fellowship in this place. And may its brightness be a guiding star to all kindly spirits who bless this season and this place with their presence, so that we may all remember our calling of the generous heart.
Our solstice story today was adapted from a Cherokee creation tale by Ellen Jackson and illustrated by Jan Davy Ellis. It's one of the many ways we can look at the changing of the seasons and our own internal rhythms that ebb and flow with these darkest of days. Many moons ago, the great sun, S-U-N, created the plants and the trees. Then he blessed them with the gift of green so that they might bring forth fruit and flowers. All was well for a time, but then the Great One withdrew his face, and the winds came down from the mountains of the north, and gray clouds jostled above the earth. "Oh, Father, don't leave us," cried the plants. "Give us your light and your warmth," cried the trees. But day by day, the great sun sank lower and lower in the sky, and the long nights were as black as a crow's wing. Then the vines began to wither, and frost touched the grasses of the meadows, and a curtain of clouds covered the heavens. "Dear Father, we will die without you," said the trees and the plants. "Come back, come back." "He's coming," whispered the clouds. "His face has turned in the sky." The plants and trees were full of joy at the good news, eager to greet their dear father. They decided to stay awake every night and watch for his return. Sumac and sassafras and purple asters put forth brilliant colors to welcome the great sun. But after a night of watching, they fell asleep. The dogwoods and the alders watched for 2 nights, but soon their boughs grew heavy and they too fell asleep. The maples and poplars whispered to each other, "We will not give up to sleep." But soon they were slumbering under the cold stars, just like the others. When the great sun came from his wigwam at last on the dawn of the 7th day, the skies were clear. He looked down on the forest and the meadows below, and the only plants and trees still awake to greet him were the pine, the fir, the spruce, the holly, and the laurel. For your faithfulness, I will give you the gift of green forever, said the great sun to the plants and trees who welcomed him. The others will drop their leaves and sleep through the winter, but you will remain awake. Your color will be a promise of my return to all who see you. And he sent a stream of light across the sleeping earth. Here ends our solstice story. I invite our young people to come to class to talk about this holiday and the many others that are celebrated in this darkest time of the year.
Today we pause to honor the complexity of life and to hold one another in love. We know that even in times of celebration, there are those among us who may struggle. Someone who may have just received a difficult diagnosis. We know that someone got engaged, while someone may have just filed for divorce or lost a job. So today we hold space for all of those who are going through whatever they're going through during this time of year. We hold space for those who will be spending this season alone, for whom this Christmas feels a bit complicated. But may we be reminded that even in the midst of life's challenges and changes, love endures. Love never dies. And with that in mind, may we each find the strength we need in the hour that we need it the most. And as we enter into a brief moment of silence, may we continue to hold each other in our thoughts and intentions.
my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please, don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray, and you'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
When I was 9 years old, my parents bought a piece of land outside of Tulsa to raise some horses. This is a story about my relationship to winter. This land was a beautiful place, open vistas, Oklahoma sky, and hardly anything that resembled anything other than nature all around us. It was a place that had 9 acres of woods and forest behind us and a ravine that ran to the Arkansas River. But this land needed a lot of work. It had been neglected over the years. And so my family invited friends and others to come and help us to rehabilitate the land, to pick the trash and the dumping that had been going on for decades, to build the fence, to restore the barn, and to welcome our first horses. It was my dad's dream, but he had 2 daughters. Horses need tending, and so guess who did the tending? Horses need to be fed twice a day, even when there's good grazing. And so it fell upon my sister and me to take on this duty. I get up before school around 6:30 a.m. every day to feed the horses and the cats in the barn. And my sister would do it in the afternoon until she left for high school. And then it was me, twice a day. No family vacations because you can't leave the horses. And so what this childhood meant was that I grew very familiar with the passings of the season. Because in our barn and in our pastures, I spent a small part of my day and every season outside. Now, winter was the hardest season. Rolling out of bed in the darkness, finding my way down the hill from the house to the barn, and hoping that the horses would see or hear me and meet me at the barn door. It was a time of beauty where you felt held by the earth. It was mysterious. It was a time when all my senses would come alive as I went down to the barn to greet the animals. But it made my job more difficult. I had to take the hay, break the ice in the giant water container. It took a lot, the water trough. It took a lot to do that in the dark. I found winter, though, over time wasn't something, even though it bit in my hands and challenged me, that it also was a place of refuge as a child that I've been reminded about lately. Winter brought new opportunities in my life as a child. Winter made it possible to roam the woods. Those cold, dark days meant I could explore the forest and the ravine behind our house with less fear of snakes and scorpions and ticks. My mom would allow us to roam for hours as long as we had one of our dogs. I always took my golden retriever, Clifford. I see the Hinkles here. They got the puppy from one of their litters. And that was my companion to wander through the woods. I enjoyed watching the water flow through the stream and breaking the ice. And I found that even though winter revealed the land, it revealed the land in new ways. With the trees stripped bare, the grass growing brown, the sounds changed in the winter. You notice how sound travels differently. The smells changed, the taste of the air, the feel. And now I realize as I'm older, I am changed too, if I only pay attention to winter. Winter on the farm was also about waiting for the ground to thaw, the ice to melt, the power to come back on. We were in rural Bixby Jinx. The cold to slip away, the bright light of the sun to return and increasingly warm my mornings and light my way. Winter in our lives is much the same way when we wait for the bad news to get better. When we look for a new way, when it seems like there is no way, when we realize the hope that we so desperately want may not or cannot happen. And yet still, winter teaches me in these moments, in this moment in my life right now, where I'm feeling very betwixt and between as a dear loved one is nearing the end of his life, that there is still love. There is still life in this in-between. The winter solstice, while it is the official start of winter, simultaneously provides a glimpse of spring and summer as the shift begins from the shortening days and longer nights to a growing daylight, and those nights grow shorter. Day by day, minute by minute, the days grow longer, and it may not seem like a difference today or tomorrow, but 30 or 60 days from now, we'll all feel it together. This year's winter solstice was yesterday. The word solstice, derived from the Latin, literally means sun stand still. And it's because of the phenomena that the sun appears to be sitting still on the solstices, the winter and the summer, for about 8 days, that it rises and it sets in the same place. Have you noticed? Have you been watching? The solstices divide the year into two halves, one full of growing light, one of growing darkness, and the sun waxes and wanes on its earthly yearly journey around it. Long before Christmas and Hanukkah and other holidays in this time of year, a different sort of celebration marked this change in how the days and the nights were balanced. To be sure, there were bonfires and candles, evergreens and gift-giving, miracle stories, and hope. People celebrated the rising of the midwinter sun after the shortest day and the longest night. And fire played a central role in these rites as they attempted to preserve, to coax the sun's strength to return. Complex ceremonies involving dances and rites and sometimes sacrifices to goddesses and gods were part of some traditions. Many used fire and the evergreens to remind them of the bounty of the spring and the summer, something to hope for and look forward to again. Over the centuries, people celebrated winter solstice in many ways with customs and rituals rooted in place and culture. The winter solstice in the desert, of course, is different than England or New England. But many of us often think back to the stories of the solstices and the stone circles in the British Isles, such as Newgrange and Stonehenge, where they mark the solstices for what are likely religious rites. Some felt that they could coax the midwinter sun's light through their actions. They prayed to the gods and the goddesses, and they performed these elaborate rites to secure the sun's return. There was dancing, there was music, there was words and incantations. They also marked the rites of fertility and death and rebirth, a cycle connected to the sun's journey from its waxing and its waning and its waning to its waxing. Solstices were also considered special times, gateways to another world when the otherworldly spirits could come back and roam the earth. It was a time of mystery and magic, fear and joy, celebration and reflection. And it still is, if you want it to be. Many cultures and traditions, old and new, mark and celebrate the winter solstice. In fact, it's still celebrated today. Maybe you yourself or you had friends who talked about selecting a Yuletide log and started burning it, thinking about its connection to last year's log. Maybe it was a remnant. Others who did a ritual on the solstice, letting go of what was no longer serving them, and hoping and wishing and writing down and sharing with others what they wanted to grow in their lives. Earth-based spirituality, those who are pagans and neo-pagans continue to have the solstices as a deep-rooted part of their spiritual journey. Marking the solstice in the seasons also opens new ways to reflect on our lives. A colleague reminded me recently that there are seasons in our lives. I know that, but you forget when you're in the winter moment, when you're in the hardest parts. In this capitalist, productivity-driven society, we forget that there are ebbs and there are flows, and that is a part of the beauty. That there are seasons in our lives, just as there are seasons on this earth. And those ebbs and flows are a natural part of living. Our creativity, our thriving. When a time like winter arrives in our lives, when we wait, when we are in the betwixt and between, when it feels like our world has been stripped bare of the delights of spring and summer, or we are so uncertain what spring and summer may even look like, we might think of these places or these moments as a place of failure or a complete loss, rather than a season, a moment, a time of reflection, of rest, of trying new things, of gathering resources. Much as the trees do when they drop their leaves and send the life-giving nutrients to their roots during the winter. So I've been thinking about the solstice and winter, something I'm experiencing in my own life a lot these past few weeks of December as we headed towards the solstice. I was thinking with three readings in particular. Parker Palmer, the Quaker activist, writer who does such wonderful work. I was thinking from neo-pagan Steve Schick, who's written about the solstice celebrations. And then thinking as a part of this community, how the solstices, how being in winter together can be a part of our lives and our development as human beings so that we can stretch and grow. Parker Palmer, the Quaker writer and activist, the teacher, he asked on Facebook a post recently in the beginning of the month. He asked a question after sharing about a picture, a painting he has on his desk. It's from Taos, New Mexico, and it's an image of the Taos Pueblo covered in snow by a native artist who's a part of that community. He writes, "The Pueblo, which is one of the first structures built in 1000 CE, is believed to be the oldest continuously inhabited community in the United States, as what we know as the United States today. So the people who call this place home have had to persevere through all kinds of winters, literal and metaphorical. They have done so for a millennium and more. And as Palmer keeps the image of the Pueblo on his desk, not because he's looking for tips and tricks and interpretations from the Red Willow people on how to winter through, he recognizes that their methods are deeply intertwined with their culture and their indigenous practice. He is looking to them and knowing that they have, against greater odds than he will ever face, winter through. He has that picture as a reminder for him to do his own work. The picture on the desk reminds him to find and discover and to identify what he calls his own deep roots in the ground of his own life. Roots that can survive the winter, that keep heart, that keep mind, that keep soul alive. Then emerge and thrive in a form of new life when spring comes. As Palmer reminds us, in case we are in doubt, spring will come, as it always does and always will, but not always in the way we hoped or expected. How do you winter through? How have you wintered through? And to Palmer's question, I add, how do we, as a community, winter through? Whether individual or parts of our community or all of us. Not to get around it, not to get by, not to miss it, but to go deeper. Winter is a special time on the wheel of the year. Despite all the appearances, of course, nature is not dead in winter. It has gone underground to renew itself and prepare for spring. Winter is a time when we can, for ourselves, strip away the things that no longer serve us, as I mentioned earlier, go deeper and look at the resources, identify the resources we have, write them down, say them to a friend, but also identify the resources that are missing, where we're lacking, and make a plan to rebuild, to connect. It's so important. Right now, if you have any holiday music playing, you might hear that famous tune. It's the most wonderful time of the year. But you don't have to be cheery or filled with merriment. It is also a time of introspection and reflection. It can be a place for forgiveness and healing. It's a time for tending our wounds and opening our eyes and our spirits to those things that can restore, redeem, empower, and strengthen us. And so the second thinker that I was in dialogue in this last month is Steve Schick. He's written different pieces about the winter solstices over the years. This one piece talks about the stone circle in Newgrange, Ireland, in the British Isles. He says, solstice celebrations capture the moment when darkness gives way to light. For thousands of years, people have tried to hold on to that moment of joy and certainty. 5,000 years ago at Newgrange in Ireland, people built a circular chamber to let a shaft of light travel deep into the most central part of that chamber during the winter solstice. Imagine waiting in the darkness and that beam of light breaking through. And there, inside the chamber, intricate drawings, including various symbols and eye-shaped carvings. Constructing shafts for the light to penetrate deeply into the central chambers of our hearts is an effort that must take place in a time of waiting and uncertainty, in a time before the eyes or our other senses begin to be open to see. It's a time when adjustments need to be made. So much of what we do in life depends on how we respond to the waiting moments. How do we respond to this waiting moment? Take this time for peace. Take this time for reflection. Again, naming your resources, naming it, writing it down. Don't just do it in your head. Commit it by sharing it, growing your spiritual practice or meditation or reading and growth. Make those connections and reconnect. Schick also invites us to practice imagining that dawning beam of light of the winter solstice as it makes its way in that chamber, and that chamber then is your heart. That beam of light coming into your heart. To direct this light requires us, as Dag Hammarskjöld suggests, to vanish as an end and remain only as a means, a conduit. No small task. But if you doubt the effectiveness, think of those who've made a difference in your life and what they have selflessly shared and given to you. Sometimes it's just showing up, and that means the world, my friends. Schick invites us to remember that New Grange and other stone circles were not built by individuals. They were gathering of people who built them together. No solitary individual created the stone circles. And in this way, during winter, it's also a time to join with others to do that work, to bring light and to then reflect it in new ways out in the world. Just in this past month, I've been thinking about the Community Resource Bank packing groceries for needy families in Tulsa. Had the Partners in Education team joined, and they're over 30-year relationship with our Unity Learning Academy, a part of the Tulsa Public Schools, and serving dinner to that community and seeing the bright eyes and faces of the families as they had this opportunity to share this free meal. And then just this week, also, those donations at the Christmas trees where we were sharing the hats and the gloves and the underwear. The children had the opportunity to shop what was donated for the things that they needed, and they could pick out their favorite colors. All the different ways we touch people's lives. January 6th, I know that date. But that's why our community organizing branch is holding an event that night here to reassert our commitment to Greater Tulsa as a broad-based community organizing group, working on tenants' rights, working on safety for children, getting to school. All the ways that we can show up for one another, how we can show up for ourselves, and then reflect that light out into the world. This is a part of the great message of the solstice. And I forgot, climate justice, January 26th. I don't want to forget that. I'm very committed to that. January 26th, we're having a huge climate revival here, and I hope you're a part of it. All these different ways that we can rethink and reconnect and shine that light in the world. And so this morning, on the day after the solstice, as that sunlight so beautifully is showing up for us, and in a very small way has grown just a bit longer, I invite you with this question: will we, in this waiting time, build a chamber where the light can be reflected widely enough so that others can see its beauty? Blessed be, and amen.
Hi, David. All this talk about the solstice and sun and sunshine got me to thinking about songs.
So what are you thinking, Rick?
Well, thank you for asking. One particular from that group called the Beatles.
Yeah, I like
Here
that.
Comes the Sun. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, I may ask your help with that here in a minute. I mean, can you help us with that? With Here Comes the Sun? There we go. Here comes the sun.
You all know that?
Here comes the sun, and I'll say,
It's Oh, they're great singers when they were young.
We're just getting warmed up. Here comes the sun. And I say,
It's alright.
little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Now I need your help now.
Here comes.
And I say,
It's alright.
thank you. Oh, and then another one.
You have another one?
There's another one, yeah.
Wow.
by Stevie Wonder. You know that?
He's a wonderful.
I need your help with that. Thank you, Matt. You are the sunshine of my life. That's why I'll. Thank you.
Wow, these are some great
You are
singers,
the apple.
man.
You are the
Apple of my eye.
forever, right?
Forever you'll stay in my heart.
I can't remember the rest. Oh, and then
Oh, wait, they're going on.
we'll have to do another session.
Yeah.
And then, you know, by the group called The Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Some of you know who that is, right? If you don't, you need to find out.
Let the sun shine.
Let the sun shine in.
The sun. Let's pick it up a
So
little.
good.
Let the sun shine.
Let the sun shine in. The sun shine.
Just a little fast. Here we go. Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in.
The sun shining.
Let me hear you sing.
There we go.
There you go. Let the sun shine in. The sun.
Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in. The sun shining.
You guys are awesome.
And all that hair that I used to have back in the day, but we keep hope alive. That's right. Well, no, it is. I do think that today, in this day and age, where we're getting so disconnected from nature and from the cycles of the seasons. I loved how Nicole talked about going out every morning and seeing where is the sun and where is the moon and just being in touch with nature. I think it's so easy to get disconnected from that. And so I hope that you feel some encouragement on this Sunday after the solstice to really think about how you're going to relate to nature and to the seasons in this coming year. But this isn't the last Sunday of the year. There's going to be one more Sunday on the 29th. And Randy is going to be delivering a message here, kind of getting us ready for turning the page to a new year. And our youth are going to have a pancake breakfast in Emerson Hall that morning. So come on out on the 29th. And the kids are invited to come in their pajamas. Now, you can come in your pajamas, too, if you want. I'm hoping Randy's going to come in a onesie. I think he should. But also, with Christmas Eve coming, I know it's not a humanist holiday, but I do want to make sure you know that we have a very special Christmas Eve here. It's a tradition that's been going on for a long time where we sing all everybody's favorite carols. We light candles. You know, the whole church lights up. We're all holding candles, and it's just beautiful magic, kind of a magic that happens. All of the services, 4:36 and 7:30, we'll sing the hymns, we'll light the candles, but each one's a little bit different. So our 4:30 is really focused on younger children. So it's very interactive, and it's got some fun things that we do to kind of keep all the kids engaged, and it's lovely. 6 o'clock is our traditional service. We've got the pipe organ, and it's just beautiful. There's just that's the way we've been doing it for generations. And then at 7:30, we've been doing something a little bit new, kind of a jazz gospel service. And this year we'll have Tommy Poole playing saxophone, and Majesty Pearson is going to be singing. And if you don't, Majesty Pearson, she just got off tour with Stevie Wonder. She's been doing backup singing for Stevie Wonder. She's also got a #1 Billboard hit on the gospel charts right now. And so she's just, she's really coming into her own. It's Bishop Carlton Pearson's daughter, who grew up from her teenage years here at All Souls and sang for us many times. So she'll be back on Christmas Eve. Our Cherub Choir, our youngest, sing at 4:30. Our children's choir sings at 6. And then at 7:30, our youth choir sings. And then the alumni from the youth choir. And now we have a couple generations coming back will come and sing as well. So it's really fun. It's going to be a fun night. And you're welcome to come and celebrate the Christmas spirit if that's something that is meaningful to you. And it's a great time. You can bring anybody across the spectrum. One of the things I love about Christmas Eve at All Souls is that, if you got family members who are Presbyterian or Pentecostal or Methodist or wherever they come from, everybody will feel at home on Christmas Eve here, because we just sing the carols, light the candles, do the readings and things that folks are familiar with. So it's a great chance to be together with your family. So bring them out if you think they'd be interested as well. Lastly, if you're here, if you're new to All Souls, after the service, as we'll go out this door, on your left is our library, and we've got folks there to greet you and answer your questions that you might have about All Souls. Also, I know that we're needing some shuttle drivers next year in 2025. That it's a wonderful thing that helps people to come to All Souls who can't drive or don't have the ability to drive, and you meet some wonderful people and you really help out. And as long as we have enough, it's not a big burden. You can kind of take one a month or less, and that way everybody can participate. But it's a really great way to get to know people and to really help and serve others. So I invite you to do that. Our offering today will go to the Lindsay House, which is a program here that helps homeless women who are struggling with homelessness, and it's a great program. I think it's run by the Catholic Church, I believe, or at least started there, and they do great work. And so we're going to take up an offering right now. If you can give to help somebody really in need during this winter season, that'll be great. People have been asking me about end of the year giving. I know a lot of people sort of give money towards the end of the year. If you're going to be doing that, I hope you'll keep All Souls in mind. We've had a few losses and other things this year, and with such a great year, we're coming in. It's going to be a squeaker with regard to our budget, and we could use a little extra. So if you're doing end of year giving, please think about All Souls. If you do want to put something in the offering for All Souls, just make sure it's marked for the church, or you can do that on Christmas Eve as well, as long as you mark it for the church. But right now, we're going to take up our collection for the Lindsay House. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to recognize that a lot of us have family already coming in town. My two sons were here at the 10 o'clock service, and welcoming Suzanne. Oh, I'm not going to remember the last name. Terrio. Suzanne Terrio, thank you for interpreting the service. Wonderful. This is fantastic. A time for bringing home. This morning for our closing words, I'm going to share a poem from Susan Cooper. It's adapted by me, called The Shortest Day. So a little piece of the solstice to send us on our way. It's so good to see each and every one of you this morning and to be with you here. So the shortest day came and the year died. And down through the centuries in the wintry world came people singing, dancing, to drive the long night away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes in evergreens. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the new day sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. All across the centuries, you can hear them behind us. Listen. Exactly. Well done. And they were reveling, and they were listening, and they were echoing, as you can hear them behind us with that same delight. As promise wakens in the sleeping land, they caroled, they feast, they sometimes cried, they gave thanks, and they dearly loved their friends. And so do we. This year and every year, welcome Yule.